Okay, greetings. And today we are going to discuss the second part of the organic chemistry. So yesterday we could discuss the sp3, sp2 and sp hybridization. Today before going into the alcohols, I want to teach you how to write an organic compound. Carbon valency is 4. If all the 4 valencies are satisfied, then it is called a saturated carbon. If the valencies are not satisfied, if there is a double bond or a triple bond between carbon, it is called unsaturated carbon. This is also unsaturated carbon. So this is saturated, and these two compounds are unsaturated, which means that these compounds can accommodate a few more hydrogens. So one is saturated and the other one is unsaturated. So here this carbon is sp3 hybridized. Here this carbon is sp2 hybridized, and this carbon is also sp2 hybridized. Here this carbon is sp hybridized, and this carbon is sp hybridized. Now, alcohol, the functional group is OH. The functional group is attached to a carbon, and the carbon may contain only hydrogen, or it may contain any other longer chain like this, HH, and then another CH3 like this. It can have any longer chain, but the functional group is OH. So in general, alcohol can be written as ROH, where R is any organic group. The saturated hydrocarbon, the general name is alkanes, alkane. If one hydrogen is removed from alkane, then that group is called alkyl, alkyl, when one hydrogen is removed. So this is methane. If one hydrogen is lost, it is methyl, methyl group. So methyl group has one vacant bond. Here the functional group OH is attached. Now it is called methyl, methyl alcohol, methyl alcohol. Suppose if you take this compound CH3CH3, this is ethane. When one hydrogen is less, it is called ethyl. So ethyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol. So like this, alcohols are formed. Suppose if you want to classify the alcohols, classification is based upon, number one, the number of OH groups present. If only one OH group is present, it is called monohydric alcohol. Monohydric alcohol. If two OH groups are present, it is called dihydric, dihydric, or in general we can write polyhydric alcohol. Anything more than 2, polyhydric alcohol. Now I will teach you how to write the chemical formula for the alcohols. Now watch closely. CH3, CH2, CH3. This carbon is sp3 hybridized. This carbon is also sp3 hybridized, and this carbon is also sp3 hybridized. This carbon is attached to one more carbon. See, the writing the chemical formula, you should be very clear, because most of the times students do not know how to write the chemical formula. If such a compound is given, you just try once how to write this. Actual structure is like this. So it is saturated. All carbons are having single bond. This carbon is attached to one more carbon. So this carbon is called primary carbon. Primary. This carbon is called primary carbon because this carbon is attached to only one more carbon. And this carbon is also attached to one more carbon. So it is also primary carbon. Whereas if you take this carbon is attached to two carbons. So it is a secondary carbon. It's a secondary carbon. Suppose if I remove this hydrogen and put one more carbon, and this carbon has other three bonds, so I put hydrogens here. If you want to write this formula in a simpler form, it is CH3, CH, CH3, CH3. This is how it will be written. If you look at this carbon, now this is attached to three more carbons. So this is a tertiary carbon. So all these fundamental differentiations you should understand. Only then you can write, when you come to the higher compounds like alcohols or nitro compounds or ethers or ketones or anything, if somebody says there is a primary alcohol, you should be able to identify which is the primary alcohol. If it is a secondary alcohol, you should be able to identify which is the secondary alcohol and a tertiary alcohol, and so on. I am teaching this part of organic chemistry with a very simple idea and very simple structures, because even a student of 6th standard or 7th standard should be able to understand organic chemistry or any branch of chemistry as such. I want to teach organic, inorganic, and physical, all the concepts in a very simple manner so that even a school-going student can understand the chemistry. Now look here, try to understand this particular fact. When one carbon is attached to only one carbon, what is away from this is not matter. It is not of our interest. This carbon is attached to only one more carbon. This is a primary alcohol, primary hydrocarbon, primary carbon. When this carbon is attached to two more carbons, it is secondary. Suppose if this carbon is attached to three more carbons, it is tertiary. So primary carbon, secondary carbon, primary carbon and tertiary carbon, because I have changed this one. So depending upon to which carbon the OH group is attached, then alcohols can be classified into primary, secondary, and tertiary, and so on. Now there is one more important thing. Look here. Suppose I write a chemical formula like this. This carbon is sp3 hybridized. The sp3 hybridized carbon is attached to sp2 hybridized carbon, which has a double bond. Now, if I remove one hydrogen here and attach OH, this particular carbon is called allylic carbon. Allylic carbon. Allyl carbon. Allylic or allyl carbon. If the compound is like this, I remove one hydrogen and attach OH group. This is called vinyl carbon. So vinyl carbon is sp2 hybridized. to the sp2 hybridized carbon, the functional group is attached. Allyl is an sp3 hybridized carbon which is attached to a sp2 hybridized carbon. Functional group is attached to the sp3 carbon, which is further connected to an sp2 hybridized carbon. It is called allyl. So now we go to the classification of alcohols. How alcohols can be classified? Now look here. Monohydric. Ethanol is monohydric alcohol. Ethanol. CH2 OH, CH2 OH. When you write the chemical formula, you count the number of groups attached to carbon and check the number of bonds is 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. So now the chemical structure is all right. This is called glycol. CH2OH, CHOH, CH2OH. This is called glycerol. 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 You count the number of bonds. 2, 3, 4. It's all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. 2, 3, 4. All right. So whenever you are writing an organic compound, you should always check whether carbon has 4 bonds. If it doesn't have 4 bonds, then your structure is not all right. So this is monohydric alcohol. These are all polyhydric alcohol. Now, primary, secondary, tertiary classification. First I write alkyl alcohols, then allyl alcohols, then benzyl alcohols. Benzyl alcohols. What are alkyl alcohols? See, CH3, CHHOH. Ethanol. This carbon is a primary carbon because it is attached to only one more carbon. So in alkyl alcohols, this is primary alcohol. If one more carbon is attached to the carbon to which the functional group is attached, now look at this carbon which is containing the functional group. It is attached to 2 more carbons. So this alcohol is a secondary alcohol. You take this one, I remove one more hydrogen and attach a methyl group. Now this alcohol is tertiary alcohol. So in the alkyl group, alkyl alcohols, this is the primary alkyl alcohol, secondary alkyl alcohol, tertiary alkyl alcohol. Alkyl is the general name. Alk is the general name. Alk. If there is 1 carbon, alk is meth. 2 carbons, eth. 3 carbons, prop. 4 carbons, but. Alk is the general name. Alk. Allyl. Look here, I have already explained what is an allyl group. Allyl group, the carbon containing the functional group is attached to another carbon which is sp2 hybridized. This is allyl. The carbon containing the functional group is attached to another carbon which is sp2 hybridized. This is allyl group. But this carbon is attached to only one more carbon. So it is primary carbon. So it is allyl alcohol, but it is primary. Now, look at the secondary one. I replace one of the hydrogens here, CHOH and CH3. Now, this carbon is attached to two more carbons. Between the two, one is sp2 hybridized and the other one is a methyl group. This is secondary allyl alcohol. Tertiary, I remove another hydrogen and attach a methyl group. This is tertiary allyl alcohol. Even when you are writing the allyl alcohol, you have to check whether the bonds are all right. See, 2, 3, 4, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, all right. 1, 2 hydrogens, 2, 3, 4, all right. See here, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4. So all carbons are, bonds are correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. So whenever you are writing an organic compound, you should check whether the carbon valencies are satisfied. So this is allyl alcohol, primary, secondary, and tertiary. Taking the benzyl alcohol, this is benzyl group C6H5CH2OH. Benzyl. What is benzyl? See, benzyl means C6H5. It is actually the benzene group C6H6. This is benzene. This is benzene. C6H6 is benzene. If you remove one hydrogen from benzene and attach some other functional group here, say for example, like this, we do not call this benzyl. This is phenyl. This is phenyl. Phenyl. This is phenyl. So in a methane, when one hydrogen is removed, it is methyl. In ethane, when one hydrogen is removed, it is ethyl. From benzene, when one hydrogen is removed, it is not a benzyl, it is phenyl. Then what is benzyl? Benzyl is one hydrogen removed from toluene. See, this is toluene. When one hydrogen is removed, now one bond is vacant, where any functional group can be attached, like nitro group or chlorine or OH group, anything. Now this is called benzyl. This is benzyl. So this is benzyl alcohol. So secondary, the same benzyl group, but one hydrogen here is replaced by another group containing carbon. Now this carbon becomes a secondary. See, carbon attached to two more carbons. So this is secondary benzyl alcohol. Next one is tertiary benzyl alcohol. The carbon is attached to three carbons. This is called tertiary benzyl alcohol. Sometimes, very rarely, we used to get this. Look here, CH2, double bond CH2. If I remove one hydrogen and attach alcohol group, then this is called enol, because this en stands for the unsaturation. En means double bond. En, unsaturation. Enol. Enol. So these are all the general classification of alcohols. So the thing that you're supposed to understand clearly is to which carbon the functional group is attached, and whether that carbon is primary, secondary, or tertiary, and then how the chain continues. Carbon chain, how it is continuing, whether the carbon is attached to one more carbon, which is sp2 or sp3, all these things you have to see. If you start writing the chemical formula of all the alcohol and count whether four bonds are satisfied, then you will be able to write all kinds of alcohols without any mistake. So with this, we conclude today's video. And tomorrow we will move on to nomenclature of alcohols. Thank you.